So Dan Riskin, not only our guest co-host today, but he also has an awesome newsletter, and it's called The Bat Signal. And in your latest newsletter, you looked into whether women can be mansplainers. So explain mansplaining to our mostly female audience, just for a second.
I can't wait for this.
And then, you know, also, how did you also come to this conclusion? Okay, so what is mansplaining?
I'd feel better about landing an airplane that's crashed than trying to mansplain to an audience mostly women. So mansplaining is when you were not asked for the information and you give it anyway, and you give really obvious information, and you tell people what to do. And you're not listening to them. And I'm an expert on this, obviously. If a man is asking lots of questions, they're not mansplaining. So what do you think about this topic is what I'm asking you. No,
yeah, so like if you get curious, then you're not mansplaining.
If somebody comes to you and says, I'm having a problem, there are two ways you can address that. You can either say, tell me about your problem and here's some coffee and tell me what you're feeling. Or you can say, I got this. Here's what you need to do.
Right.
Men tend to do the second one. And honestly, I was reading this scientific paper and I was like, oh yeah, that's really interesting. And then my wife came into my office and she said, you know what, I had this really frustrating interaction at work. And I was like, here's what, oh wait.
Okay. So, Dan, so in your newsletter, you asked, can women mansplain?
Yes. So this scientific study they did was to see whether it really is like specific to men. So they had a whole bunch of women and they asked them to go through, like read these different scripts and imagine you're telling somebody about a problem you have at work and imagine they say this or imagine they say that and they try to imagine it's a man who says this or imagine it's a man who says that or imagine it's a woman who says this.
What did they find?
What they found is that if women want to, they can mansplain just as well as a man can.
Oh.
Thank you very much. It has the same detrimental emotional effect as mansplaining done by a man.
Yeah.
So when you get mansplained to, it makes you feel worse about yourself, it makes you feel less power, and it makes you not like the person who's mansplaining. That's apparently, I'm learning, what happens. But when women do that, it has the same effect, but women just don't tend to do it as much as men do. Does this ring true for you?
Well, I mean, no, I'm definitely guilty of mansplaining, but I wouldn't call it mansplaining. I think there's a female equivalent. I think it's called female chauvinism. And this is not my idea. It's not my idea. Anne-Marie Slaughter, who was on our show many years ago, she wrote a book called Unfinished Business. And she said, in the realm of domesticity, which is often still women in the household, she said, when somebody, for example, your husband comes up and says, you know, I'm going to do the dishes, and then he starts doing the dishes, and then you do, that's how you do dishes?
Uh-oh.
And the idea of explaining to him, you don't know how to do it as well as I do, and let me show you, she called that female chauvinism.
Okay,
she said that's on us.
Jason does that to me, by the way.
He does?
With the dishwasher. He's like, you don't know how to do this the way that like is properly. And I'm like, I'm not a proper lady. Like, of course I don't know how to do it. I'm not proper at all. I feel like women, what do you call it then when women do it to women? Maybe
not
still. Chauvinism. I just think it's like sometimes people can be patronizing. Some people can assume that they know most. Some people have the best of intentions. This is where I'm like curious about teasing this out because where do we draw the line between someone just actually being quite knowledgeable about something and seeing that someone's struggling and it's being like
then being a know-it-all
or being a know-it-all.
Right.
Where's that line?
I feel like don't get mad at me, but wives and moms do this the most. I feel like they're always the ones who are telling people what to do, but I don't think it's their fault. I think this is the man's fault because a lot of men have weaponized incompetence where they act like they can't do something, so it trips a woman into thinking every time she approaches, she's like, no, he's just not gonna know how to do it, so I gotta explain how to do it, I gotta talk to the kids because they don't know how to do it. And then they start talking to everybody in their life like they don't know how to do things because that is their existence every single day. So I'm still blaming the men with my female explaining.
I will say, on behalf of men, I think you're right. I think
good answer.
I think we sometimes play it a little bit dumb.
A little bit.
Right.
Hey, you, come a bit closer. We've got so many more must-see interviews, spicy debates, lifestyle tips, and pop culture moments. So subscribe to our channel by tapping the logo below and don't miss out.